America and YouTube. My name is Dooley Godot with the weather forecast for you. We're going to talk about that big storm that's affecting the Midwest now and moving on into the East Coast. We'll talk about the severe weather across the Great Plains area in the South, and as well as the heavy snow in the Great Lakes area. But you know, it is month of February, and you know it's Black History Month. I was sitting around and I was thinking about what aspect of Black history was I going to cover. Since I'm into meteorology and weather and all that kind of stuff, I thought we're going to talk about the first or historically famous African Americans in the field of meteorology. So let's jump right into our presentation, shall we? So in this presentation, we're going to talk about the Tuskegee Weathermen. We're all familiar with the Tuskegee Airmen, which was a regiment of African-American pilots during World War II, and they were responsible for mainly providing cover for land assault and ground forces on D-Day and different offensives going on during World War II. They covered it. They fought over in Tunisia and Africa. They fought all over the European side of World War II. And one of the teams or pieces of the Tuskegee Airmen were the meteorologists, the team of meteorologists who were formed to provide forecasts to the pilots for the Tuskegee Airmen, because in those days the racism was pretty bad, and the problems in the military, was not immune to the issue of racism in America. And many of the African American pilots were concerned that the white meteorologists weren't going to give them accurate or reliable information for nefarious reasons. That this gentleman would fly into zones they wouldn't know what was going on, what to expect, and maybe they could get injured or killed. So they created their own team of meteorologists who provided information, and these guys became so good at their jobs that they became famous in the Army Air Corps. And during their time in combat, they flew over 1,578 missions, and they resulted in the downing of 111 German aircraft, as well as as many targets as are on the ground, and other things like that. So, but there were one of the most notable Tuskegee Airmen is Charles E. Anderson, who was actually the first African American to receive a PhD in meteorology. He even received it from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So he received his doctorate from MIT in 1960 of all times. I mean, that's actually amazing. It's hard to do it now, and you did it in 1960, in the beginning of the civil rights era and the civil rights movement. So, but he also he was one of the deans at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. So, congratulations to the University of Wisconsin for being so progressive and forward thinking. That is one of the better colleges in America. And one thing I appreciate about living in the upper Midwest or in the Great Lakes area, Minnesota and Wisconsin is pretty progressive when it comes to racial matters. How much of it is legitimate remains to be seen, but at least they do speak on it positively. So, I guess if you think about it, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that German, Scandinavian kind of socialist kind of leanings that they have. So, but it kind of lends to them to be more socially and racially aware, or at least racially understanding. At least they speak the language that they should speak, but practicing it may not always come together in the way that they speak it. But Dr. Anderson, and I'm going to call him Doctor because you're that man, give that man his accolade. I'm pursuing a PhD in the atmospheric sciences. So shout out to that brother. May God bless him. And he's passed on now. He passed in 1994. But that brother is an inspiration to me in what I'm trying to accomplish now as I make my way through my undergraduate and on into my graduate and doctorate program. So, and that brother is a treasure and a symbol of how far African Americans have come in America, and at that time that he made that accomplishment, he also worked at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, worked in their atmospheric sciences division. He worked at several other universities where he was a professor. And so he had a very distinguished career in the field of meteorology. So thanks for taking at that. And I have some nice slides here with some information about them that you could look at. You could also check out the links for where I got the information is going to be in the description of this video. All right, hang on a second. I'm hearing a sound here. Let me turn off whatever that is playing in the background. I can hear chirping. Oh, my beginning screen had the Hawaii video that was playing, the Hawaii live cam. Apparently there's an ad that's making noise. So I was confused. Like, hey, what's that going on? So anyway, let's jump into the weather forecast and let's talk about the craziness that is going on across the Midwest and the Great Lakes, at least the southern end of the Great Lakes right now. As we look at the map from WSV3, we can see that there is it is running. Okay, so we can see that there's a lot of watches and warnings posted by the National Weather Service through the Illinois and Missouri, and we got them into Indiana and Ohio as well. We have some wind advisories as there's a very strong wind with that mid-latitude low pressure center. It's going to spread some flood watches, and there is a flood watch in effect across southeastern Missouri, St. Louis. If you're in St. Louis area, you're under that flood watch. There's also the potential for severe thunderstorms in the Arkansas, southwestern Arkansas, northeastern New Orleans, northwestern Louisiana, northeastern Texas, as well as most of southern and southeastern Oklahoma has a risk of seeing severe thunderstorms. It is a slight risk and a very slight risk, and marginal risk for tornadoes. And a hail risk is there, a hail risk, but there is a moderate risk for damaging winds, but there's not much of a risk for flooding, so that's not a concern. They're not going to be heavy rain producers. There's going to be a lot of wind in these storms because of the fact that it's an early in the season storm, so the dynamics aren't quite favorable for heavy rain, but there is there for high winds, for gusty winds, and maybe a brief tornado is possible. But the bigger threat is going to be straight line damaging winds with, in a severe thunderstorm, those are winds that gust over 58 miles per hour. So some of the dynamics are in place. We got a little bit of shear, some moderate shearing coming off of the Gulf of Mexico that's coming into this region. There's a lot of cape in effect, and what cape is, there's not a lot of cape. Is about the cape is about 1,000, so it's not a whole lot of cape. You don't really expect a lot of cape in February storms, but there is a strong cap, and what the cap is the an inhibition of lift of the atmosphere. So that means the atmosphere wants to lift. It hits that layer of warmer air, which kind of puts it's like wearing a hat. It puts a lid on the atmosphere, keeps it from lifting higher. So, and that cape is about 3 kilometers up. So, it's gonna prevent those thunderstorms from getting the heights from getting too tall. It's gonna keep them from really getting too high, so you won't get that hail. That's what's gonna help minimize that hail threat. But as you can see, there is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Great Lakes area. Whoops. Let's take a look at the Great Lakes. So where we do have some lake effect snow taking place up in northern Michigan. There is some lake effect snow coming off of Lake Superior as well as Lake Huron. It's going to spread over into Canada. As you can see that that moisture coming off of the lakes there, and then so let's zoom back out, and then we do have some moisture across the Pacific Northwest as we finally had some precipitation up in there, as we can see, and they have been long overdue for some any significant or meaningful rainfall across the Pacific Northwest. There is a little snow up in the mountains over southern Canada, and some rain up in the Seattle area, as you can see that rain here. And then maybe there's a little bit of snow in the mountains, but it's not really coming up well on the radar because it's in the mountain passes and stuff, and the radar is having a little bit of a time seeing it. But as you can see, those little blips right here is indicative of that snow in the lower passes of the mountains. So let's zoom back out. And is my radar working properly? Because there should be a lot more activity on this map than what I'm seeing. But anyway, this is Tuesday night when I'm actually recording this video. So that storm has not really come into view yet. That's going to set itself up right about in here. That low pressure center is going to set itself right about here in western Oklahoma, North Texas, and New Mexico. Northeastern New Mexico is going to set itself here and eject out into the plains, into the mid Mississippi Valley. It's going to move out into the mid Mississippi Valley and head into the Ohio Valley, where it's going to spread some heavy snow across these regions, thunderstorms in this region, and we're going to see some rain with some embedded thunder in these regions here. But anyway, let's get to our deterministic models, and we're going to jump into our first model, which is going to be the GFS. This is what our global forecast system model is showing. So we're going to take a look at what this has in store. This is currently where we are right now on your Tuesday night when I'm filming this video. But so most of the forecast is going to be for Wednesday on. So let's we do have a little bit of a system that's affecting the upper Midwest here and southern Canada. It's going to spread some light snow, and it's partly that snow that you saw across northern Michigan. So it's going to spread that snow on across those regions as it makes its way onto the east. So it's going to slide east, but we're going to watch and see our storm take shape here across the southern plains here and the lower Mississippi Valley. As you can see, this boundary here that's forming, you got your strong low pressure center that's going to take shape over Oklahoma and Arkansas and southwestern Missouri. It's going to be 1,000 millibar low here, and it's going to spread you see those going to be thunderstorms across the northeastern Texas so it's going to spread across into Little Rock, Arkansas could be at risk for those thunderstorms, as well as Oklahoma City can see some of those thunderstorms. As we can see this system move across, it's going to ride up. This is going to be a Colorado low, and it's going to ride on across. You see it, those thunderstorms going to hit. Oklahoma City has a risk of severe thunderstorms, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in this video. So that risk is there for some low grade severe thunderstorms. And I don't expect to see like an outbreak of severe weather. It's not going to be really organized severe weather. There's a cap in the atmosphere. The cape is kind of modest. The shear is not the strongest shear in the world, so the dynamics are not there for outbreak of severe weather. But a few severe thunderstorms is possible, and a tornado or two, maybe on the low end of the scale. It's not to say you can't have a larger tornado, but it's not what's expected right now. Right now, we're expecting some low range tornadoes, some low grade tornadoes, short lived. They're not going to travel much of a distance because they're not going to hold together for a long time. So, I mean, it's pretty early in the season. So, we want to see those in March, but it's not unusual to see them in February. But that's where we're looking at with this storm. So this is as this storm progresses. This is where it's going to be on Thursday. And on Thursday, it's going to move into the mid-Mississippi Valley, and it's going to spread that rain. Them thunderstorms are going to move on off to the east into Arkansas and northeastern Texas. It's going to hit southern Missouri. But this is going to transition to a freezing rain event. As you can see, we do have some overrunning here along this end of another frontal boundary that connects into that will link up with this low. This sort of stationary front here is going to have some overrunning, like what you would call cold air damming, which is going to take place and provide a narrow band of some freezing rain through parts of St. Louis. St. Louis definitely could see that freezing rain, and across central Illinois, there's a swath that can see some freezing rain as well on over into northern Indiana and parts of northwestern Ohio and extreme southern Michigan. The boot of Michigan could see some of that freezing rain. And mixed in there. There's going to be quite a bit of snow as well, even though it's not quite. You see right here, these magentas in here, that's indicating very heavy snow. And this is the potential for some of these areas in Kansas to see in excess of 20 inches of snow. But that's going to progress on to the east. As you can see, as our storm lifts into the Ohio Valley, this is where it's going to be on your Thursday, later in the day on Thursday, and this is under the 21Z time at 21Z. It's going to see that big area of rain, some thunderstorms down across Mississippi and into Tennessee and Kentucky. We'll see those thunderstorms roll on through as this weather system makes its way to the northeast. And it's going to spread that heavy snow across Michigan. Chicago is going to pick up some heavy snow on tomorrow as well. And Thursday is going to pick up heavy snow, especially if you're in South Bend, Indiana. You'll see that freezing rain, heavy snow. You see those magentas in there, indicates that heavy snow, high snowfall amounts. This could be in excess of 15 to 20 inches of snow. And this system is going to continue its way on off into the northeast, going to move into southern Canada. So if you're in Toronto or Montreal, you're going to also pick up a lot of snow from this now 994 millibar low as it makes its way on out to into the Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, on off into the east coast, on off the north, off through Maine and into Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, Canada. There is another Alberta clipper that's going to skirt the U.S.-Canadian border. Also, for your Thursday or Friday, it's going to bring your another round of light snow to northern Wisconsin. The upper peninsula of Michigan, as well as northern Minnesota, could pick up another inch or so of snow. But there's going to be a little bit of wind, so that temperature roller coaster is going to continue for the upper Midwest. So that system's going to move on out, and then we get another Alberta Clipper that's going to swing on through for your Sunday. And not another, we finally get another weather system onto the Pacific Northwest on your Sunday as well. It's going to spread a low pressure center into the northern Rockies, Idaho, and Montana. You're going to see some snow spread into that region, as this area has been experiencing some drought conditions and in desperate need of precipitation. So this system is going to make its way into the central Rockies, and it's going to be another Colorado type low that's going to come out around the Denver area as it moves into the plains for Tuesday, the 22nd. It's going to move into the plains, and this is according to the GFS. It's going to move on to the plains and eventually into the southern Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley is going to spread some snow, some pretty seemingly significant snow, having a large snow band across Minnesota and Wisconsin. So next, on the 23rd, next Wednesday, the upper Midwest could get a little bit more substantial snow than what we've been seeing with these Alberta Clippers, where many of them have dropped an inch or less of snow across the Minnesota watch area. So that system's going to move on out and kind of follow the path of the Alberta Clippers into Canada and out to sea. But you can see another area of significant weather that's going to take shape on Thursday, the 24th, and this area of low pressure could bring in some more freezing precipitation across the Ohio Valley. So if you're in Indianapolis and Toledo and Cincinnati, not Cincinnati, the freezing rain I think will remain south of Cincinnati and Cleveland. But if you're in Dayton or Toledo, Ohio, you may see some of that freezing or mixed precipitation, as well as some heavy rain across the Tennessee portions in Kentucky, as well as Missouri and maybe into southern Illinois and Indiana. Could see some pretty significant rainfall from this elongated trough-like system that's going to make its way through, and it's going to have a not so much of a deep low. It's only about 1,000, maybe 1,004 millibars, so it's not the deepest low, but it is going to have a pretty good moisture fetch, and it is going to, again, spread some more mixed precipitation into the upper Mississippi Valley and the Ohio Valley. Again, it's going to spread another round of precipitation. It's going to have that freezing rain. Now, this time, the freezing rain will affect Cleveland and Cincinnati. It's going to hit also Indianapolis and maybe northern Illinois around the Chicago, maybe just south of the Chicagoland area. And this is going to move into Pittsburgh and spread some of that freezing and frozen mixed precipitation into Pittsburgh and parts of Pennsylvania. So this is going to make its way on out the northeast and on out into the into the North Atlantic and out to sea. And yet another Alberta Clipper for the upper Midwest with another round of really light snow, maybe a drop in those temperatures and a little bit of wind. That's been the story for most of this winter. And this one, a little bit stronger Alberta Clipper is going to swing through on the 28th, which is Monday the 28th. So we're moving on now to where things can get unreliable with the GFS, but we look at it for that guidance and just kind of a hint at what something we might need to look at or pay attention to as we get another area of heavy rain down in the southeast here. We could see some more severe weather or thunderstorms potentially in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Maybe they could get in some of that precipitation as well. So again, another area of low pressure. And this is for the end of the month of February. This is taking us into the month of March now. This is March 1st, where we could see a storm down in the southeast of the United States here. and it's going to make its way up the East Coast. Maybe become a potential nor'easter. Maybe a potential nor'easter for the first week of March, and we'll keep an eye on that and see how that develops and if that stays in the model runs. But as far as right now, the GFS thinks that it's going to be a pretty significant storm right off the northeast coast on March 3rd, March 2nd. So maybe a potential nor'easter with another one right on its heels for the 3rd. Another strong storm, but it's going to spread snow into the northeast, the big cities in the northeast: Boston, New York, Philadelphia, maybe Newark, New Jersey, and down into the D.C. area. Could pick up some snow that weekend. They've seen a lot of mixed precipitation this winter as they've been right on that border of that snow line, and it's been kind of mired this year with rounds of mixed precipitation in between on that transition zone. So that is what the GFS is showing for us right now. So now we're going to compare it, and for the European model is concerned, at least as far as what this storm is concerned. So we are going to look at what the Euro has in store for us as far as what we're dealing with right now. So let's run the European model and get that next storm to come on out into the plain states. Come on and bring your cell phone out here, buddy. There you are. So this is this storm. Now see, the European model has the low a little bit further south where it's kind of into North Texas and more southern Oklahoma, but it does depict that area of potentially severe weather here for Oklahoma City, maybe Dallas, maybe just north of Dallas. Wichita Falls could definitely see a risk for severe weather as that storm makes its way into the plain states. So, and then it's going to spread that mixed precipitation across St. Louis. Kansas City is going to see that snow, heavy snow, and you're going to see those thunderstorms come up out of the Gulf of Mexico as we got just enough shear for a marginal risk, maybe about a 2 to 5% chance that any area could see a tornado in this region here as this system makes its way across into the Ohio Valley. So these are making a beeline to the Ohio Valley. It's going to spread that. The European shows a little bit less in the way of frozen precipitation, with the exception of the heavy snow that's going to fall across the northern edges of the Ohio Valley, northern Indiana, northern Illinois. Chicago could pick up maybe 10 to 15 inches of snow. It's going to come down pretty heavily. So that's what this storm is looking like from the European model. So you can see that long stream of rain that's going to extend all the way into the upstate New York, going to spread rain into the New Hampshire and Vermont, all the way up into Maine. So this storm has a warmer fetch to most of it, but it is getting some of that snow on the backside in this deformation zone here. So we are picking up some of that snow. And it's going to be quite heavy across southern Canada. Some areas in like the Toronto, Montreal area here could pick up as much as 2 feet of snow from this storm system. So, and then there's a look at that Alberta Clipper that is going to move through on Saturday. Now, the European has this Alberta Clipper coming through a little bit quicker than the GFS has it coming through. So there's our stream of Alberta Clippers. That's pretty much. And then the next system is going to come down out of the Rockies. This is for the 21st. This is for Monday, the 21st. So here's the next system that's going to come down out of Rockies. This one's going to come out of the Denver area and spread some rain across the Ohio Valley again, as well as the Tennessee Valley and on into West Virginia, and into Pennsylvania. You're going to see that rain. So another fairly warm system that's going to mostly spread rain into the Northeast with mostly snow into Canada. So that's what the European model is going to show us today. Let's look at the NAM for our temperatures forecast what we have. So the North American, this is the 3 kilometer NAM, and this is our temperatures, our temperature gauge, and you can see, you can pick out where these storms are when you look at this. So here is your Wednesday. You see how all this warmth all up and through the southern plains, that warm air is fetching right up into the to the Midwest here is going to bring those 40s and 50s all the way into the St. Louis, Kansas City. If you're in Wichita, Topeka, you can see those 50s as well. Almost 60 in Oklahoma City. You're seeing those 60s in through Texas. So you see that little bit of a warm fetch to it, but not really that warm. It has cooled off in the west as we finally are going to see some precipitation make it to all the way to Southern California. That same rain that affected Southern California is going to be associated with this big system that's going to come out into the plain states tomorrow on your Wednesday. So you can see that storm taking shape right now as it really, see now it really ramps up that warm air. And you see it really starts to pull up those 70s and 60s, those 60s into the Gulf states and on into your Midwest, the Southern Plains is going to see a little bit of a warm up. And that cold air tries to hang on in the upper Midwest. As you can see, they're doing battle, and you see that warm front really you see that stationary front start to take shape here for this is for the 17th. This is what Thursday is going to look like. You look at that line. You see those 70s down in the Gulf. You see those 60s and 70s through the Gulf states and on into Arkansas and Missouri. And you see that line. You see this line here. This is the marking where our frontal boundary is from that storm system. And this is the direction it's going to take. As you can see, the system really doesn't have the oomph behind it to push it southeast, to push that warmer air back down into Florida and really keep it bottled up. It's kind of taking the same direction as that storm they call it Landon, which I think is stupid to name tropical storm. I forgot what they were calling this one. I think it had a K. Or I don't know. I don't care. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But some stupid Weather Channel stuff. But this cold air is really going to try to force its way in. And this is why we see that risk for that severe weather. And why we're seeing that frozen mixed precipitation, why that freezing rain and maybe some sleet is coming into play. You see that overrunning. This is overrunning here. So it's creating that cold dam. And it's going to make its way. So this is what those temperatures are going to look like through Friday. So once that system starts to really make its way toward the east, it's not really pushing that hard to push that warm air to the south, and is eventually going to kind of slide around through the seam between the polar vortex and the Bermuda High. So that is a look at the 3 kilometer NAM. So we're going to get into some regional forecasts and stuff here. And we saw that with but first let's take a look at what our telekinetics are. Let's look at what the North Atlantic Oscillation, and the North Atlantic Oscillation has us with a somewhat neutral phase right now. So that means that that means that we have a less than ideal chance for, or less of a strong chance of seeing a nor'easter or a strong East Coast storm. We have that one storm coming out of the Midwest, but it's not really considered like a nor'easter. So it's not really taking that path up the eastern seacoast, the seaboard. It's kind of coming over the Ohio Valley, the southern Great Lakes, and kind of sliding inside slider. And it's sliding to the west of the big cities, and it's going to slide into northeastern Canada, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick. It's going to slide into those areas before it heads on off into the North Atlantic and into Greenland. So as you can see, some of the runs of the models is trying to indicate that NAO is going to go negative, but it may go negative in beyond March. This is out to March 2nd, so it's kind of goes slightly positive. I would consider that. I would call it kind of neutral. It's either neither here nor there. It's just kind of in the kind of ho hum. So we're gonna see weather systems, but they won't be particularly strong. For the most part, the Northeast and the East Coast are gonna be, it's gonna be kind of, the potential is there for a strong storm, but not really likely when you have positive phasing for the NAO. Let's look at what the PNA is talking about. So, and this is our, hang on a second. There we go. Let's go to the PNA. Okay, so here's our PNA. So our Pacific North American pattern. So the PNA has this predominantly is also going positive. So with the positive, well, it was clearly for right now, it's deeply negative. It's very negative right now. It's going to be negative, which means there's going to be a lot of Pacific storms. So Seattle and Portland, maybe the Bay Area, San Francisco, are going to start to see some precipitation and cooler temperatures. When you see that negative PNA, that means that it's going to be a trough in the east, in the west, in a ridge, usually a ridge out east. So, and you saw the NAO was kind of negative, was kind of positive. So that means that there is some ridging in the east, so that you would have a quieter weather pattern, even though they're dealing with that weather system right now. And if you look at what it is right now, the let's go back to what the and take one last look at what the see, you see that NAO, how it's kind of negative for right. If you look at this time of the year, if you look at this moment right now, here we are about the 15th of February. You see how it's kind of negative here. It's really confused. It's neutral because there's about there's a whole bunch of positive waves here, but we got quite a bit that's indicating that it's a negative phase. But so it is that wishy-washiness, that positive NAO is meaning it's high pressure. There's a ridge in the east with a trough in the west. So, and when the PNA goes negative, is when that's the case. The PNA means there's a ridge, a trough in the east. So there's a dip in the jet stream, not in the east, in the west. It's late and I'm tired. So anyway, let's take a look at some of our regional forecasts right now. And we're going to start with our Pacific Northwest forecast. And this is why I haven't posted a video in quite some time, because I've been playing with some new graphics software that I got. And as you can see, there's that big high pressure ridge that's been centered over the Pacific Northwest, or the Rockies. The Northern Rockies is now in Northern California, so it's spreading a lot of sunshine across Northern Nevada and Northern California. But we are seeing those snow showers from an area of low pressure that's over Idaho and Montana right now. You can see that it's got a warm front that's moving across Idaho now, and it's going to lift a little bit of warmer air into the Portland area. Might see a little bit of warmer air, and there is a little area, will be an area of some snow in the mountains, in the Cascades. We'll pick up a snow shower or two tomorrow on your Wednesday, and you also see a few snow showers along the coast just south of Seattle, between Seattle and Portland. They might pick up a few snow showers on your Wednesday. So let's take a look at what things are going to be for the Southwest. So, far. We're too far. So we want to go to Southern California now. See all that bright sunshine around Los Angeles as they saw some thunderstorms in LA on your Tuesday, but here for your Wednesday, the sunshine is going to return and mild temperatures in the 60s in Southern California again. It's going to be a little bit of snow. Now what you're seeing is that Midwest storm taking shape across the southern end of the Rockies now. It's going to move out from the New Mexico and Colorado area. It's going to be a Colorado low and make its way into the southern plains for your Wednesday, and it's going to spread those thunderstorms into Oklahoma. So this is where it's going to be positioned on the low pressure center. It's going to be for your Wednesday as it makes its way out into the plains. So now we're going to look at what the southeast has in store. Here we are looking at the southeast, and if you can see in the southeast, you see those thunderstorms down in that North Texas, Oklahoma City area. You can see that severe, and they're going to make their way to the northeast as all that moisture is coming in off of the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see scattered thunderstorms can occur all the way into Atlanta, as well as Memphis and Nashville could see some showers tomorrow, maybe with a thunderstorm or two. Florida will remain sunny for now, as that precipitation is going to remain to the north and west of most of Florida. So maybe the Panhandle might pick up a shower or thunderstorm or two, but that is what we are looking at for the southeast. If we look at the map and we can move on into the northeast now, take a look at what the northeast look like as we wait the arrival of that weather system. But there is an Alberta clipper that is going to spread a little bit of precipitation, some light rain along the border of the United States and Canada, the border areas. So if you're in Buffalo, New York, and Pennsylvania, not Philadelphia, but Pittsburgh might pick up some rain showers from this area from this Alberta clipper that's moving through the northeast right now. And we see some light snow, mixed rain and snow mixed across the Great Lakes area. That's going to continue and move its way to the north, and it's going to make its way to the north and northeast. So let's take a look at our next region. Then we're going to take a closer look at the forecast, and let's move into the upper Great Lakes. Let's move into the Great Lakes region. In the Great Lakes in the upper Midwest, we do see an area of high pressure over Minnesota. It's going to be partly cloudy. In Minneapolis, we do see an area of snow beginning to move into the high plains. A little bit of snow is going to slide to the southeast across the high plains as that as an area of low pressure begins to spread some of that heavy snow. That low pressure center, this is going to ride up. This is associated with that Colorado system that's going to spread that heavy snow into the Ohio Valley and parts of Illinois. This is why Chicago is going to pick up that heavy snow tomorrow night. So let's move right along into the Great Lakes. Here's a better look at the Great Lakes. Here's the Great Lakes region as they're going to see that storm system begin to take shape, and that heavy snow is going to begin to fall across the Ohio Valley, and then you see a lot of rain out ahead of it into Pennsylvania, New York, and the New Hampshire and Vermont is going to pick up that rain as well from that weather system as that powerful storm makes its way into the upper portions of the nation and the Northeast. All right, and we saw the Great Lakes. Okay, now so that we took a look at all of those, so let's move right on ahead and look at what our severe weather setup is going to look like. So here's what our lift is going to be. It's moderate lift. It's like I said, the atmosphere has a cap, a pretty strong cap, so it's going to be hard to initiate those thunderstorms, but once they can break through the cap, then we can see those severe, discrete supercells. It's not, I think that what may happen is the storms will take a linear pattern, but if we want tornadoes, we want to look for discrete supercells. But they gonna have to break through the cap, and I think once they get through the cap, if they can break through the cap, the storms I think will kind of take on a linear pattern, but then it's going to be kind of a clusters. It's going to be clusters because it's not going to be very organized. And usually when you get really organized, they take on that linear pattern where discrete supercells can be chaotic and now they're placed in position. So we have moderate instability because of that cap, but there is a lot of cold air in place, a loft. So if we can get through that cap, it'll really tug on and allow that warm air to rise through that layer, and interact with that layer of cold air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But it does have to get through that cap. And then there's moderate shear coming in off the Gulf of Mexico. There's a good northwest wind coming off the Gulf in the 3 kilometer range, but so it's a little bit of shear, but it's just enough. Maybe we can get some low grade tornadoes. So the overall threat is a slight for severe weather, a slight risk for severe weather. So our tornado risk is slight, and then we also, and I think I'm being generous with that tornado risk is slight. Yeah, I think it's even it may be marginal at best. But the hail risk is marginal because you have that cap, so you're not going to have those storms reaching ridiculous 50,000 foot heights where you can get a lot of hail production. And then since a lot of these storms are going to be pulse storms in nature, so they're not going to be very organized. So there's going to be a lot of gusty winds with a lot of them, especially as they dissipate and go into the dissipating stage. So you're going to see a lot of downdrafts and microburst winds. So the severe wind threat is moderate as well. So that is what our severe weather threat looks like. And then here is what the risk analysis is. And we're looking at that mid-latitude storm that's coming out across the southern plains that's going to move into the mid-Mississippi Valley and then into the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes and on off into the Northeast, and eventually it's going to make its way into Canada. But the main threats is that low-risk, low-grade tornado. So there is a low risk for a tornado, but the risk for a severe thunderstorm is moderate to high. So I do have it as a high risk for a severe thunderstorm, but is a low risk for tornado. And these are going to be thunderstorms with straight line damaging wind and small pea-sized hail. I don't expect large hail with this system at all. And so that tornado risk, again, is marginal, and the damaging winds moderate and hail marginal. And the flooding is not going to be an issue because they're not going to be particularly heavy rainfall producers. Some areas could actually see thunder snow. If you're in the St. Louis, Kansas City area, you may actually see some thunder snow, as there's just enough instability that's going to work into your area, but you're actually going to see some snow or mixed precipitation. So you could actually see a thunderstorm that produces mixed precipitation, rain, snow mix, or maybe all snow. So that is the possibility for those regions that you could see some thunder snow. So here's a look at what the wintry precipitation threat looks like, and this is the risk analysis. And as you can see on the map there, you can see, especially as it moves into the Great Lakes and the Northeast, you see those light, bright colors. That indicates areas that can pick up 2 feet of snow. So you see the risk here is for snow. It's going to be high. There's a high chance of snow, as you can see, and there's a high risk for freezing rain. There is going to be a thin line of freezing rain in the mid-Ohio Valley, say Dayton, Toledo. If you're in Indianapolis, maybe the central Springfield, Illinois, down maybe, and also maybe a little bit into Kansas City, maybe Memphis, St. Louis. You could see that some freezing rain as well. There's a moderate risk for ice, not a whole lot of ice in this storm. It's either snow, rain, or freezing rain. And then there's a moderate wind threat as well because some blowing snow is taking place. There is a risk, especially if you're in an area that could see thunder, snow. You're going to see those gusty winds with the thunderstorms. So that is a look at what the threat. That is a look at what the wintry precipitation is going to look like, and here is going to be your local forecast. All right, that was a look at the nation's weather, and thank you for following us as we um, kind of track what's going on with that major storm going on out east. And I think my feed from Hawaii went dead, so let's see if we can make it pop back up. There it is, beautiful Hawaii. All right, don't we all wish we could be in Hawaii right now? Isn't it gorgeous? So anyway, um, and this is Kauai. How do you pronounce that? Anyway, I'm not going to even try. So anyway, that was a look at the nation's forecast and the nation's weather and what's going on with that big storm in the Midwest that's going to make its way to the East Coast. and the Northeast is going to drop a lot of snow, a lot of some thunderstorms. It's going to have a lot of freezing rain. So it's going to have its share of problems. It's not going to be the most severe storm. It's going to produce a lot of snow, but it's not a really large area. It's going to get the heavy snow. It's kind of more predominantly producing rainfall in the southern side of the storm. So it's going to be, we're going to keep tracking it. If you follow me on TikTok, every morning I'm going to have a weather forecast. I post every morning a brief national weather forecast on my TikTok at Mr. G Weather. And that's my handle, is MRG Weather on TikTok. So you can follow me there if you want daily forecasts. And if you want the detailed long-range forecast, you can follow me. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember to like the channel, subscribe, and I'm going to leave you with a question. I'm going to ask you, how much snow do you think that you think you're going to receive? Do you want any snow? How much? And how long do you think the snowy weather is going to last? Do you think spring is going to come early? Looking at the long-range models, I don't think so. I think we're going to flip back into the old pattern that we were in. Even though right now we're in a favorable pattern for storms to come out of the southwest. And so we have a trough in the west with some ridging in the east. So I think the pattern that we're in now is not going to hold for a long time. I think we're going to flip back into the ridging in the west with the trough in the east. And that'll lead again to those nor'easters and big East Coast storms. But again, so I don't think that the month of March is going to offer much respite from winter. Maybe at the end of March, but I certainly don't think the first 3 weeks of March is going to really give us any hope for a warming trend across especially if you're in the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. I don't think it's going to happen. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel and also to leave a like. And I'll be back this weekend with another video. Kind of take a look back at how this storm did and look at, how we did forecasting it, what happened. Take a look at what's coming up next. And I also have the long-range forecast. So I hadn't made a video for quite a few days because I am trying to upgrade my setup. I got a new camera today. I got a green screen coming. I get my green screen tomorrow. Yay! I get a green screen set. So I'm gonna have all the lights and everything, the green screen, and I got a fancy new camera, a new clicker so I can manually control the stuff as I'm standing by the green screen. I'll be like the weatherman on TV, hopefully. So anyway, I got my new setup I'm going to hook it up this weekend. So hopefully my next video we'll have with my green screen setup. And we're going to also have, I got some new graphics to use that you saw it in this video. Some of the things, and I'm learning how to use them. I'm learning how to do this PowerPoint stuff and Photoshop and all this kind of stuff. It's all this crazy stuff. So I'm really trying to make the channel into something special, make it seem professional. Keeping it real for you. I'm going to get my meteorology degree. I might as well have the complete look all the way around. So anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let y'all go on and do what you got to do. And look forward to seeing you on the next video, okay? Thanks for watching. Have a great day and be safe out there if you're out traveling and you're being affected by that storm. Be safe. Make sure you have all your supplies at home and make sure you have your travel safety gear with you, okay? All right, thanks. Good night.